Chapter 71 Banquet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Call. Jiang Zhenshan took a long breath and put a smile on his face again. The resolution of the matter in Zhang's forbidden area was a big worry. He smiled and congratulated. Congratulations to Elder Chu for slaughtering the saint. Slaying the saint, Chu Xun murmured, there was a strange ripple in my heart, there is joy, there is excitement, still a little sad, but he regained his composure in an instant. He knew that this was not something worth celebrating. In fact, the suppressed demon saint's cultivation level had dropped too much. Let alone the holy realm, even if it was a flashback, the strongest explosion would only be close to the holy realm. This kind of existence, it's not enough to be called a saint. Killing him doesn't mean that you really have the strength to kill a saint. However, Chu Xun also confirmed two things from this demon saint: he has strength comparable to that of the holy realm, De sword intent, Chaos sword body, Ivy sword. These are all things that he possesses, and none of them were revealed in this battle. Therefore, even if he is defeated in the face of the holy realm, he can still protect himself. Elder Chu. Elder Chu. Below, the elders of the Jiang clan greeted him enthusiastically, with bright smiles on their faces. Many of them were neutral, and now they unswervingly chose Jiang Chen. With such a teacher, he is determined to enter the holy realm. In the future, he may even become the #1 person in the eastern region. With such a great future, who can he support if he doesn't support him? When the elders of the three clans saw this scene, their expressions were extremely complicated. All this seemed to be expected, and there was nothing to regret, but when it actually happened, they still felt empty in their hearts. In fact, when Chu Xun came to the Jiang family, his heart was already relaxed. When the Jiang family encountered a crisis, the entire eastern region stood by and watched the show silently. Only Elder Chu came regardless of his own safety. This kindness was. It is worth keeping in mind that most of the dissatisfaction with Jiang Chen in the past originated from this. It originated from Jiang Chen's apprenticeship with Chu Xun, and the latter offended so many forces, and sooner or later he was liquidated and implicated the Jiang family. Now, everything Chu Xun has done is worthy of the Jiang family and the name of this master, so he has accepted it, silently said Jiang Ju. Forget it. Practice well. Jiang Ju's eyes beside him were dim. This was the closest he had ever been to the Jiang family's eldest son, but he watched him walk away. He felt somewhat unwilling and deeply fearful in his heart, because he knew that the Jiang family, the forbidden area, was created by him. Elder Chu. The matter has been resolved. Go down and have a drink. I've prepared some good wine. That the silver-haired old man from the 6 clans laughed heartily and was in a great mood. Back then, he felt that Jiang Chen made the right decision to take Chu Xun as his disciple. Now it seems that this move is too right. Not urgent. Chu Xun had a smile on his lips. As the saying goes, a good man will go to the end and send people to the west. This Jiang family's demon has been solved, but the formation below has not yet been solved. And he is also curious about Zhang's ceiling formation. Recently, I have been studying books in the Sutra Pavilion. It not only involves martial arts cultivation, but also various books on formations, talismans, alchemy, etc. I also have some understanding of formations, so I can take the opportunity to study them thoroughly. Elder Chu, what are you? Get the star stone. Heavenly formation stone. Gold stone. And the inscribed runes. Then Chu Xun spoke. Many clan elders quickly gathered around Chu Xun. Soon, the damaged formation was also repaired. Boom. Moment, a vast prehistoric atmosphere filled the air, and the previously damaged formations were all healed. Not only that, they were also completely integrated with the deep formations, creating stronger waves. This made the elders of the Jiang clan startled and then expressed ecstasy. Although the Jiang clan could also repair this formation, they were far from being able to do so. The perfect fit of the formation was as if they were the ones who set up this formation back then. People come to reset it themselves. Although he was pleasantly surprised, he did not hesitate to praise him and exclaimed, Elder Chu is indeed a man of great wisdom. Not only is he highly cultivated, but he is also extremely proficient in the formation method. He can be called a formation master. Faced with these words of praise, Chu Xun just responded with a smile, but there was a trace of doubt in his heart. However, he did not speak out immediately. Instead, he felt satisfied when he saw the perfect formation integrated with what he had learned. Elder Chu. Please. This time Chu Xun no longer refused. Less Zhang's welcoming living room received Chu Xun with the most solemn ceremony. There were even more beautiful and delicious delicacies placed on the table. The color and fragrance of some of them made Chu Xun's Adam's apple squirm and his eyes bright. He had not tasted the delicacies well before he came to this world. Please. After Chu Xun, a veteran of the Jiang clan, invited the most distinguished guests to the banquet, the silver-haired sixth elder said boldly, Elder Chu, come and try the wine I brewed. The eyes of the elder from the 7 clans lit up and he said greedily, Elder Chu, we have benefited from you. This guy is usually reluctant to take out this fine wine, but today we can have a taste of it. The silver-haired old man from the 6 clans glared and said, it's not your share. Only Elder Chu is qualified to enjoy this fine wine. You guys who just stare and do nothing, don't deserve to drink it. Having said that, the elder of the 6 tribes still poured wine for everyone present. The aroma was overflowing, the smell of wine was in the nose, and the nostrils were surging and the Adam's apple was about to twitch. Elder Chu. Please. Chu Xun took a sip from the cup. It was soft and fruity. It should be brewed with precious fruits. But after entering the throat, it felt hot and painful. It was very overbearing. If someone was drunk, he would probably get tipsy after drinking this cup. There were indeed elders with slightly red faces. Overbearing. Chu Xun drank it all in one gulp, closed his eyes to savor the wine, and opened his eyes again. His eyes were very bright. The wine contained rich spiritual energy. Even his cultivation level was slightly improved. Good wine. Hearing Chu Xun's praise, the 6 elders grinned and said, 2 more cups. 1 cup of this wine is an appetizer, 2 cups warm the body, and 3 cups are just enough to get excited. Good. Chu Xun was not polite, and the other elders also drank it all in one gulp. They took this opportunity to get more wine. Even Xianxia's eyes were bright. He was also a wine lover. After the wine, naturally, it was time to taste the dishes. The precious meat dishes were all precious ingredients. Even the elders would not be willing to slaughter them easily in the past, but now they generously slaughtered a full table, and cooked them carefully, making a delicious meal. Picking up a piece of meat and putting it in your mouth, the meat was rich in aroma, without any extra seasoning, as if any seasoning would affect the deliciousness of the meat. Delicious. The tongue almost melted after taking a bite, which made Chu Xun's eyes reveal a strange look, and the 6 elders smiled and said, delicious food is good, but how can it be without good wine? Come, drink. Goyalu. Chu Xun finally saw it. This 6 elders with silver hair really like to drink, but his wine is really unique, tasting delicious and sweet, paired with this food is really a life enjoyment. Chapter 72 Saint's Dharma Paper. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After 3 rounds of drinking, the food tastes delicious. Everyone gradually returned to the theme. While everyone is here, I have a suggestion. I will make Xianxia the eldest son and the young clan leader. He will inherit the Jiang family in the future. Does anyone have any opinions? Practice means nature. Xianxia has been extremely talented since he was a child. If not, who would he be? Can. Approved. Agree. The elders of all clans voted one after another, and even those who were currently in the neutral faction also defected. It should not be underestimated that nearly half of the neutral faction had defected. With their defection, it was almost certain that there was no suspense. At the banquet, Xianxia was the only junior who was qualified to sit here, and no one had any objections. Originally, Chu Xun was invited by Xianxia. Furthermore, when attending the banquet, everyone tacitly understood what was about to happen. What happened? Xianxia also showed a bright smile. If the eldest son of the Jiang family was placed before him, he would be very excited. Succession to the Jiang family would mean becoming the top people in the eastern region. But now his requirements are much shallower. I want to be with master. After the banquet, guests enjoyed themselves. Chu Xun was invited to another place by Jiang Jinshan, in a lush bamboo forest, with green grass in front, flat and open terrain, and a small clear lake. It was a rare and clean place. If you read books and scriptures here, your mood will be greatly improved. What a great place! If Elder Chu likes it, I will give it to you here. You can come here to read and write scriptures from time to time. Jiang Jinshan said with a smile, and there were many spiritual fruits placed in the pavilion, including small grapes filled with purple energy, each of which was huge. Full, it is a rare spiritual fruit, picked from the spiritual vine that only bears fruit once in hundreds of years. There are also bright spiritual fruits, bursting with red clouds, and the alluring smell has hit before they are close. They are also rare spiritual fruits. These ordinary fruits will make the juniors better if they eat them, but here there are several plates of different varieties, but they are all high-quality spiritual fruits. Please. After taking a seat, just chatting, they briefly talked about Jiang Chen, and then moved to the current situation in the eastern region. Now the eastern region is in chaos. Jiang Jinshan's eyes showed complexity. Although the Jiang family was in crisis, he was always paying attention to the outside world. The Green Bull Demon Lord summoned his former subordinates and started blood sacrifices in various places in the eastern region. Although the top forces have connections, those secular dynasties, it's so tragic, it's too far away. Even if a message for help is sent, it will be too late by the time we arrive. Many small countries have been sacrificed in blood. Billions of living beings. All life is in ruins. Chu Xun's eyes were also filled with a little sadness and sympathy. Tianyun Kingdom was almost sacrificed to blood that day, and he still remembered that scene freshly. The people of the imperial capital, and the entire Tianyun Kingdom were shrouded in a desperate situation, and no one could move. It is the most tragic thing to swallow the life essence of that small red cauldron and watch oneself die. The 6 holy lands have sent powerful men from the 9th realm of the human emperor to a corner of the eastern territory to take charge. If there is another blood sacrifice, they can arrive as soon as possible. Jiang Jinshan sighed. It's a good thing. Chu Xun nodded lightly, but he also knew that this was treating the symptoms rather than the root cause. The trouble in the eastern territory of the Green Bull Demon Lord would continue for a day if the Blue Bull Demon Lord was not solved. Moreover, the recent events of the Jiang family were probably inseparable from the latter, and he would also be affected. What he discovered while repairing the formation came out. Master Jiang, I noticed something strange while repairing the formation. Buzz. A faint trace of residual demonic energy surged out from the palm of his hand. Jiang Jinshan was confused, still a little confused. This demonic energy is not the demon that suppresses the forbidden area, but comes from the outside world. The loosening of Jiang's seal is related to this wisp of demonic energy. Impossible. Jiang Jinshan was very emotional and argued, although there are no saints in our Jiang family, not just anyone can sneak in. The Green Bull Demon Lord also practices magic. He will find out as soon as he sneaks in, not to mention that it is me, Jiang. The forbidden area in the back mountain of our family is heavily blocked, so how can it be so easy to reach? I don't know. Chu Xun shrugged without arguing. He picked up a spirit fruit and put it in his mouth to chew. It melted in your mouth, was sweet and rich, and was delicious. Jiang Jinshan regained his composure after a burst of excitement, and his pupils gradually became cold and vicious. Earlier, he had suspected that Jiang's resurrection in the forbidden area was too coincidental, but there was no evidence. But now he had a rough candidate in mind. What follows? Chu Xun did not participate. After all, it is a family matter, and now, he leisurely rushed back to Donglin Sect, Immortal Sect. It has attracted much attention recently. Previously, most of the saints had died since Xiao Huangqiao. Even the story of Snow Mountain Palace spread some time ago, which undoubtedly became a joke, and people were also curious about the follow-up movements of the Immortal Dao sect. Unfortunately, it was silent for more than a full month, and now, finally there is movement. The human emperor, the Dharma appears on the back. After pausing for a few breaths outside the sect, it turned into a stream of light and flew straight towards the Donglin Sect. This move caused huge waves, just like throwing a stone on a calm lake, causing waves to flow to the people below. The rough waves show it, Donglin Sect. Before the human emperor of Xiandao Sect came near, several people sensed it. Wang He, who was sitting cross-legged in the clouds and playing chess with Elder Jiang, sneered, "Any cat or dog dares to come and act wild. Do you really think that my Donglin Sect is still the same as before?" Now, not only is there the great god Elder Chu, but also the head of the sect Xiao successfully awakened the phoenix body, and his cultivation level is rising steadily. Ordinary human emperors of the ninth realm are not opponents. What is the difference between coming again and dying? However, this human emperor was full of momentum. When he approached Donglin Sect, he calmly threw out a magic paper and said coldly, "Where is the head of Donglin Sect? Hurry up and welcome the saint's magic paper." Humph. Elder Wang He, Elder Jiang, the two originally wanted to send this human emperor away, but the moment the magic paper bloomed, a bright light comparable to the sun bloomed, and the sun in the sky was dimmed. Whether it was the disciples of Donglin Sect or the nearby practitioners, they all looked up in horror, with shock in their eyes. The magic paper was hanging safely in the air, as if it was wrapped in the sun. In fact, it was the light it released that formed the sun, and it also emitted the breath and fluctuations of a saint, which made people tremble and awe instinctively, and they wanted to kneel down involuntarily. Chapter 73 Threatening Donglin Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Holy Saint's Dharma Paper. The Saint's Dharma Paper of the Immortal Sect. Those who were practicing far away from Donglin Sect, especially since there was a city below Donglin Sect where disciples of the sect could trade and bring their relatives to live. At this time, they all looked up in horror at the Immortal Tao Sects. The human emperor stands on one side of the Saint's Dharma Paper, making it easy to recognize. Even the city lord in the city below showed his sincerity and fear. It is no secret that Donglin Sect has been madly offending the Immortal Tao Sect recently. He is trembling with fear. Is this the saint of the Immortal Tao Sect coming to kill him? Call out. In the master's training place, there was also a powerful aura rising into the sky. The next breath, he saw a stunning woman in red robe standing coldly and arrogantly in the air. Her cold beautiful eyes were filled with coldness, staring at the cold human emperor. Said, the Immortal Tao Sect sacrificed the Saint's Dharma Paper when they came up. Is it to destroy our Donglin Sect? Face the sarcasm in your words. The human emperor of the Immortal Tao Sect didn't take it seriously, shook his head and said, Master Xiao misunderstood, it's just that the saint of the Immortal Tao Sect wants to talk to the Donglin Sect in person. Buzz. Within the holy and flawless golden Dharma Paper, a hazy figure appeared, sitting cross-legged inside the Dharma Paper. His whole body was filled with the aura of the holy way. Under the light, the flawless radiance shone in all directions, making those who felt its sacred aura helpless. Instead of trembling and kneeling down, people in the city below Donglin Sect were already kneeling together. Elder Wang He, Elder Jiang, the two people who were about to climb into the air suddenly felt unspeakable pressure. It seemed like a huge mountain was pressing on their shoulders. They completely lost the ability to fly into the air. They couldn't help showing shock on their faces. This was still a Dharma Paper of a saint, not a saint. In person, if the real body comes, what a big scene it will be. The saint entrenched in the paper glanced at Xiao Rongyu and lowered his eyes slightly. The Emperor of Comfort from the Immortal Sect smiled and said, Master Xiao, my saint wants to see the saint from the Donglin Sect to discuss important matters with him. Snort. The faces of the monks from the Donglin Sect turned dark. Their leader personally greeted the saint's Dharma Paper. What did the latter mean, looking down on the leader? The bastard human emperor was even more hateful. He actually asked the saint of Donglin Sect to come and communicate with him in person. It's just a Dharma Paper, it's not enough to get my saint out of seclusion. Xiao Rongyu looked cold and responded with the same cold and arrogant attitude. You said that I am not worthy of communicating with you, so how can you, a Dharma paper, be worthy of playing against my saint? It's a sharp-tongued little girl. The saint entrenched in the paper spoke for the first time. His voice was small but uneasy. Even the monks of Donglin Sect showed nervousness. It seemed that Xiao Rongyu her behavior made the saint unhappy, and she wanted her to apologize to calm the saint's anger. Dirty bones. Elder Wang, he cursed secretly. He had had this thought just now, and immediately he was filled with shameful anger. It was clear that the saint of the immortal Tao sect had bad intentions, and he wanted the Donglin sect to surrender with a piece of paper, but he still refused it. Such a shame that such a ridiculous idea was born, and he is not worthy of being the emperor. Elder Jiang also looked stiff. He had obviously experienced what happened to Elder Wang He. He said with complex relief, "No wonder you and me. It's because the saint's pressure is too strong, making people dare not disobey. There are saints in the East, and every holy force can be honored as a holy place. The heads of the 6 holy places are common, but saints are not common. Therefore, every time a saint appears in the world, it will cause waves, so that they have this kind of fear and uneasiness." Xiao Rongyu stared coldly. Just this gesture convinced the 2 elders. Regardless of their cultivation level, this state of mind was far beyond what they could achieve. They sighed. It was the most fortunate thing to establish Xiao Rongyu as the leader back then. Now that I have this, I'm afraid that besides Elder Chu, it's head Xiao who is in a state of mind. Brother Xia Yang, Shanin, who was entrenched in the Dharma paper, raised his eyelids slightly, and a light and fluttering voice fell. He obviously had no feelings, but when it fell next to his ears, it turned into a big bell, vibrating continuously. Puff. That there are still some people in the Donglin sect who are practicing in seclusion in a secret room. They are unaware of what is going on outside, but suddenly, this sound falls into their ears indiscriminately, disrupting their practice. They all groan with blood in their mouths, and their eyes show confusion. Shocking, whose voice is that? Why is it like the power of God? Shua, Xiao Rongyu's expression changed. The saints of Donglin sect have a short lifespan and cannot withstand such consumption. If they are resurrected just because of a magic paper and lose a little life essence and die early, it will be a big loss. Xiao Lian a chill filled the air, and he said angrily, "Is Saint Ji trying to provoke a fight between the 2 sects?" Buzz. Crucial moment, Donglin sect's formation lights up. Isolated this sound, the saint entrenched in the magic paper frowned slightly. He stared at the formation but did not use it anymore. This trip was just a test. It would be best if he took advantage of the situation and disturbed the saint of Donglin sect. Even if it failed, it didn't matter. His deep eyes staring, he said calmly, "Since Brother Xia Yang is still in seclusion, I won't disturb him anymore. Where is Chu Xun? Let him take the order." That the immortal sect human emperor, who was standing next to the paper, spoke at this time, his expression showing pride. "Arrogant, why should I, a member of the Donglin sect, accept your order from the immortal Tao sect?" Xiao Rongyu laughed angrily, and just used a piece of paper to coerce the Donglin sect. He also tried to get Elder Chu to accept the order, thinking that he was what, did you give him face? The figure in the sage's Dharma paper slowly opened his eyes and said coldly, "The Green Bull Demon Lord of the East Territory is causing trouble and spreading magic power, which has led to the emergence of many demons in the demon sect. The other 5 of the 6 holy places have sent strong men of the 9th realm of the human emperor to take charge of one side and provide support at any time to suppress the demon sect. Previously, it was okay because the Donglin sect did not have a human emperor of the 9th realm. Since there is a human emperor of the 9th realm, it should contribute its part." Xiao Rongyu frowned. Elder Jiang, Elder Wang He, the cultivators of the Donglin sect were all silent. This was the consensus of the East Territory recently. As one of the 6 holy places, the Donglin sect should also contribute its part. East Territory. A corner of the coast. It is the place where Chu Xun is responsible for suppressing it. That the human emperor of the Xiandao sect still had a smile on his face, calm and unhurried. With the sage's Dharma paper, he was confident and did not worry about any accidents. What if I don't go? Xiao Rongyu's pretty face was cold. You can, that the figure entrenched in the sage's Dharma paper opened his eyes with a whoosh, and said with cold pupils, Donglin Sect has a treasure, Taihao Ding, which is lent to Zhao Xian, and he will take over Donglin Sect. Not to mention Xiao Rongyu, even the ordinary cultivators of Donglin Sect were angry. Taihao Ding is the treasure of Donglin Sect. It was obtained by the first ancestor of Donglin Sect and has been kept in Donglin Sect to suppress the luck. This sage of Xiandao Sect just borrowed it. What's the difference between this and robbing? Dream on. You can't do this. The sage entrenched in the sage's Dharma paper suddenly burst into a dazzling and holy light. The light shone everywhere. Under the pressure, the already panicked Donglin city became even more panicked. Even the cultivators of Donglin Sect were like facing a great enemy, and they looked up with horror. Inside that Dharma paper, a person actually walked out. Chapter 74 The Saint of Donglin Sect comes out of retreat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It was a middle-aged man with a majestic face, his face was as sharp as a knife, and even his bun had edges. At this time, he was no longer so dazzling, and his light was restrained. People could clearly see that his appearance was accompanied by bursts of pressure. Saint. Saint of the Immortal Sect. An incarnation of a saint, that I don't know how many people are horrified, especially those who are not far from Donglin Sect. Their scalps will explode when they see this scene. Is the incarnation of a saint coming to Donglin Sect in person to destroy Donglin Holy Land? You have no choice. The majestic-faced middle-aged man's eyes were as cold as ever, devoid of any emotion, and he indifferently ignored Xiao Rongyu, or in other words, he had never put the latter in his eyes from the beginning. It comes down to it, just a junior, even if the phoenix body has recently been awakened and broken through to the 8th realm of the human emperor, so what? The distance from the holy realm is still hundreds of thousands of miles, the gap is as different as clouds and mud, and it is difficult to enter the Dharma eyes. First, Chu Xun is located at a corner of Binhai. Second, hand over the Taihading. At this moment, the saint of the Immortal Sect didn't even use the pretense, he just asked so blatantly, and his pupils glanced coldly, oppressing the Donglin Sect, humiliation, shameful and angry. Anger, various emotions were squeezed into Xiao Rongyu's heart, and the delicate pretty face was flushed, which was caused by anger, and more importantly, shame. Just as the saint was about to be enthroned in Donglin Holy Land, the Immortal Dao Sect couldn't wait to get up, she couldn't help but laugh sarcastically, and said mockingly, Are you afraid? Are you afraid that Elder Donglin Zongchu will enter the realm too quickly and advance to the realm of a saint before he is enthroned? This will ruin your plan. In the face of this unbridled ridicule, the face of the Immortal Sect saint turned cold. Ah! I was right. Earlier, when Elder Chu appeared in the Snow Mountain Palace, you were dismissive, thinking that he could not make trouble. After Jiang and his party, you were afraid. You were afraid that Elder Chu would quietly advance to the Holy Realm, so you couldn't sit still. It's really ridiculous. How big I am when I think of myself as a saint, but it turns out it's nothing more than that. Xiao Rongyu sneered. She was very lonely at this moment. Behind him stood a huge sect, tens of thousands of disciples, thousands of princes, hundreds of venerables, several human emperors, but no one stood beside her to bear the pressure, wearing a bright red robe, cold, arrogant and stubborn confrontation with the saint, with words as cold as a knife, harsh sarcasm to irritate the saint. The latter's face was also very cold, because Xiao Rongyu was right. Earlier, he had dismissed Chu Xun and sneered at him. Even if he entered the realm at a flying speed, in his eyes, if he had not entered the holy realm, he would be like a piece of grass and could be cut with ease, but after Zhang's trip, he trembled. Chu Xun's state was too fast. The first time I paid attention was that the Immortal Dao Sect had lost several human emperors. At that time, Chu Xun was in the 5th realm of the human emperor, and then he exploded in strength in the 9th realm of the human emperor. Not more than a month later, he broke out in the Jiang family with semi-saint level strength. This made Gao Gao Shang, the saint overlooking the eastern territory, was worried. Even if he knew that the realm of saints was a hurdle and a chasm, it was not that easy to cross. Even if the scorching monster wanted to cross it, it would take only a few years. Chu Xun only had a few months, and there was no time to break through. But he still worried. He sent a saint to suppress the Donglin Sect. He knows, it's not just him, the Saint of Donglin Sect may not be able to sit still. Even if he does not come today, the Saint of Donglin Sect will not come soon. But as a saint, although his thoughts arise, there will be results, so he came, pressuring Donglin Sect, strong, overbearing, unruly. It seemed that he was standing on the highest point of morality and asked Donglin Sect to do the same thing, but in fact he was killing every step of the way and not giving Chu Xun a choice at all. Humph, you savage girl, uneducated. The middle-aged man standing in mid-air looked indifferent, and pressed down with one hand, causing the entire world to tilt. Well, sigh quietly, spread slowly, falling into the outside world, time, space, and everything fell into a freeze. A complicated sigh came from a cave in the back mountain of Donglin Sect. Why bother? I am only a few months away from death. You guys are just like this. Can't wait any longer. Has the Donglin Sect already coveted this land? Buzz, a palm poked out from the back mountain, and the middle-aged man standing in mid-air had his pupils contracted. Boom, big hands reached out, pinch him directly. Boom, in the shock of countless people, crush it directly, along with it is the piece of Dharma paper. Boom, the expression on the face of the immortal emperor of the immortal sect was horrified, and he looked at that scene in horror. The incarnation of the saint who was so arrogant and intimidating the Donglin Sect just a second ago was just gone. Whoosh, his figure instantly retreated dozens of miles. However, the saint's Dharma papers have all perished. How could you let him go? Puff, a snap of the fingers, separated by dozens of miles, killed directly. The practitioners near Donglin Sect all watched in horror. Their hearts were filled with turmoil. Some shocked the saint's death, but also shocked the human emperor's fragility. He was like an ant in front of the saint, even if he was only a few dozen miles away. It can be easily erased with just one thought. Saint. Master. Senior. Several horrified voices filled the Donglin Sect at the same time. Looking towards the back hill in disbelief, there stood an old man who was about to decay. His whole body was filled with the aura of twilight, as if he had crawled out of a coffin. Master, you are out of seclusion. Elder Wang, who was suppressing the forbidden area, said with a trembling mouth. He clearly realized something. Even if his master remained in a deep sleep, he only had a few months left to live. This time he revived, he could still live. Senior Xia. Xiao Rongyu looked at the figure behind the mountain, and his emotions stirred up. He said complicatedly, Senior Xia, there is no need for you to leave seclusion. I can handle this. The saint comes in person, she couldn't handle it, but it is just an incarnation of a saint, and the Donglin Sect's background is more than enough. What's more, this saint itself is within the territory of the Donglin Sect, and it is quite easy to kill him. You've been bullied so much, what's the point of pretending to be dead anymore? Xia Yang shrugged and smiled, looking at these juniors with gentle eyes, and then asked, where's Xiao Xun? He's in retreat. I'm practicing a secret technique, Elder Wang, he said. Well. The old man who was about to decay and full of twilight energy walked out of the back mountain. He nodded and walked forward. Elder Wang He and Elder Jiang also hurriedly greeted him behind him, and said in a trembling voice, Senior Xia, what do you want? Don't you want to stay in seclusion for a while? Xia Yang shrugged, his cloudy eyes were also sharp, and he smiled, it's not necessary, you have to give out the final warm-up, otherwise, all the cats and dogs will bully you, and I, the elder, won't be able to sleep well underground. Elder Zhang's heart trembled. I know that Senior Xia has made a decision, this recovery, I'm afraid I'm not ready to retreat, there is sadness in my heart, there is even more endless panic. If the saint passes away, where will the Donglin Sect go? Chapter 75 A Corner of the Seaside. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Immortal Sect, a place of spiritual practice for saints. Suddenly, an extremely bright eye opened, and the middle-aged man standing there smiled with unprecedented ease on his face, and said with a smile, big harvest, that this trip to Donglin Holy Land had multiple purposes, one of which was to disturb Xia Yang, who was in retreat. A saint whose life was about to expire could not withstand such a loss, but what he didn't expect the most was that Donglin Sect. Not only did the saint not remain calm, he actually revived and crushed his paper to pieces with one hand, earn blood. It's just Dharma paper, a piece of cake. It may be extremely precious to people below the saint level, but at his level, although the magic paper is precious, it is not impossible to refine it, and the loss of a piece of magic paper disturbs Xia Yang, which is definitely a big profit. I wonder if you will continue to be the turtle with the head, or come here to die. The saint of the immortal sect narrowed his eyes. If Xia Yang still wants to be the turtle with the head, then let him. I am afraid that this recovery may not last another month. And it is absolutely impossible for Chu Xun of Donglin Sect to break through to the Holy Realm within 1 month. Thinking of this, I felt completely relieved. As for Xia Yang, he dared to come in person, that is to die, an old guy who is about to rot. It can't make any trouble, especially at this moment. Xianxia Sect. The old man Xianxia who was holding the Xianxia disc looked at the scene of Donglin Sect and frowned slightly. Teacher. The Saint of Donglin Sect will not live long after he is revived. The Donglin Sect's crisis has been determined. Xian Dao Sect. Zhen Wuzong. The two sects are watching with eager eyes. The outcome is certain. Do we want a piece of the pie? That the leader of the Xianxia sect said with eyes. The Donglin sect is the oldest force in the eastern region. Unlike the Jiang family with a long heritage but limited capacity, the Donglin sect has countless disciples and countless people who repay the sect. There are countless hidden secrets. If you eat it, you will make a lot of money even if you only take a sip of the soup. No, that the old man of the Xianxia sect shook his head slightly, with confusion in his eyes, and said, I divined a few hexagrams earlier. The luck of the Donglin sect is extremely prosperous. If it is extremely prosperous, it is not the luck that is about to decline, but has fallen to a certain level. The situation has bottomed out, and the fortune is far greater than any other sect in the eastern region. Hiss, that the leader of Xianxia sect's eyes widened. He knew that the teacher was not joking, but how could this be possible? With the two sects staring at him eagerly, Donglin sect had no way to survive. I find it strange too. The old man of the Xianxia sect shook his head, his wise eyes full of confusion. Divining a sect's luck requires a big price, but he only dared to predict a few times with the treasure of the Xianxia disc in his hand, and every time he had great luck every time, which made him doubt that Donglin sect was destined to die if God did not die. Don't get involved yet. The Xianxia sect saint pondered for a while and then said slowly. Regardless of whether the Zhenwu sect and the immortal Dao sect can eat this piece of fat, he, the Xianxia sect, will not get involved. The leader of the Xianxia sect nodded, but there was a little bit of disappointment in his eyes. It was a pity that the big fat meat would slip away from his eyes, but he did not dare to disobey the words of the Saint Master. A twilight old man came to the attic of the Buddhist scriptures and looked at the 9-story pavilion with carved dragons and painted phoenixes in front of him. His turbid eyes were full of sighs and confusion. That glance seemed to have traveled back many years ago, when he had just joined the Donglin sect to study. Seen, and then took steps towards the Jing Pavilion. Level 1, 2nd floor, the 5th floor, the 8th floor. When he came to the 8th floor and saw the man with his eyes closed and a mysterious aura surrounding his body, the twilight old man also whispered, I didn't want to disturb you, but the deadline is approaching, and some things must be arranged. Chu Xun's closed eyes also faintly opened. He saw the old man in front of him at the first glance. He was in a trance. He also knew what happened in the outside world just now. The saint oppressed the Donglin sect. When the saint incarnated, he took action against the Donglin sect. At that moment, he was ready to drive the avatar to take action, but the saint of Donglin sect regained consciousness and suppressed the idea of taking action. Now looking at the twilight old man in front of him, his eyes were in a trance with the complexity of the moment. All the information about this senior came to his mind. When he first joined the Donglin Sect, this senior was a saint, but he still had a short lifespan. Today, I finally have my own afterglow. Senior Xia, Chu Xun stood up and saluted respectfully. Xia Yang nodded calmly, his cloudy eyes filled with a ray of joy, and the appreciation on his face was not concealed. He smiled and said, "The foundation is quite solid, and there are no consequences for continuous breakthroughs. It seems that these 60 years of cultivation of mind and character it's not in vain. If you suffer some setbacks when you are young, you will go longer and farther in the future. My optimism is not in vain." Chu Xun just stood there and listened with a smile, and did not respond perfunctorily. Thank you for the senior's praise, because it was not necessary. Although the two were not masters and disciples, they had often surpassed each other, and Xia Yang was more like a protector. In Chu Xun's case, maintained frequently when not rising. Let's go. Come out with me. Xia Yang smiled calmly. Where to go? Eastern region. A corner of the seaside. Xia Yang's wrinkled cheeks also squeezed out a smile. He wanted to know what the Xiandao sect saint threatened Chu Xun in that corner of the seaside. If there was still someone hiding to ambush Chu Xun, it would be best to deal with it. Chu Xun nodded slightly, his eyes filled with expectation and curiosity, wanting to know what was lurking in the corner of the seaside, whether it was the incarnation of a saint or a semi-saint. It would be best if it was the latter. On the road, Xia Yang, the saint of the Donglin Sect, also whispered softly, "It is best to be a semi-saint. If you are wiped out in one fell swoop, it will free up more time for you to practice, and I, the Donglin Sect, will have a chance to breathe." A corner of the seaside, commonly known as the Great Bend of the Demon Sect, the Green Ox Demon Lord might be hiding here, and the two of them came here openly, not worrying about meeting the Green Bull Demon Lord at all, because even if they encountered the latter, the Green Bull Demon Lord would definitely stay away and not dare to provoke him. A saint whose end is approaching, a near-death blow. Reflection, still extremely strong. Even if the Green Bull Demon Lord has the strength to kill the saint, he will not do it. He has exhausted all means, exhausted his energy and blood, and finally defeated him with a seriously injured body. Rather than fighting, it is better to let it fend for itself. A corner of the seaside, in nothingness, several figures were entrenched in the void, and it was impossible for ordinary people to detect them. Even when the human emperor came here, he saw nothingness, and he had no idea that several powerful people were hiding here. If you ask me to call him a saint, it's unnecessary. Donglin Sect can't let Chu Xun come here. The Demon Sect's base camp may be hiding an ambush for us. As long as you're not stupid, you won't come. The rest of the people also nodded, feeling that the saint was doing something unnecessary. They were about to speak in agreement, but suddenly they felt a fluctuation in the void, and then an old man in green shirt came here. Chu Xun. These hidden half-saints were immediately stunned. Chapter 76. Not on the same level. You are listening at novelfull.audio. How dare you come here? This is not the thought of a half-saint, it is the thought of all half-saints. Knowing that you will die. How dare you come here? I don't know whether I should admire your courage. Or admire your ignorance. A young woman walked out of the void. She was wearing a Taoist robe and looked cold and arrogant. At first glance, she looked quite young, but in fact, she even had crow's feet at the corners of her eyes. At this point, she was already quite old. If she could not break through to the saint for a period of time, she would face the problem of the end of her life. I don't know if you are too stupid or too ignorant. Even if there were no one like us sitting here, you couldn't come here. Another old man said slowly, appearing from the void. It's ridiculous. I thought you were a big shot, but now you're nothing special. A young man mocked with sarcasm in his eyes. If you think that the strength you showed in the Snow Mountain Palace can compete with the semi-saint, then you can tell your last words now. You are more ignorant than I thought. The corner of Binhai is full of dangers. Not to mention you, even semi-saints like me dare not come here alone. We need to go together to have confidence. I really don't know who gave you the courage. A short moment, for semi-saints, appeared out of nowhere. They appeared in the southeast, northwest, and northeast respectively, blocked Chu Xun's retreat. Each of them was surrounded by a faint divine aura, and a ball of light wrapped them. The old man in green standing there also looked at them calmly, his eyes as gentle as ever, seeing the Taoist-like woman, the gentle and amiable old man, the sharp young man, and the childlike boy, 4 people. All semi-saints. Any last words? Tell them now. The sharp-edged young man had sharp eyes, looking down as if he was staring at a dead person, and he didn't think there would be any more trouble. What a big deal. Chu Xun sighed softly. 4 semi-saints. Even when the Blue Bull Demon King caused such a big stir in the eastern region, there had never been a semi-saint revealed. Even when Xianxia appeared in the world, it had never attracted their attention. But in order to kill him, 4 of them came out to set an ambush here. Aren't they afraid of failure? That the slow-moving old man sitting cross-legged in the void felt uneasy and frowned. This Chu Xun was too calm, as if he had everything planned out, which made him particularly uneasy. He racked his brains and couldn't think of what Chu Xun could rely on. The Donglin Sect had already declined to that extent, and there was no semi-saint at all. Even if there was, coming here would be a death, so he couldn't think of what Chu Xun relied on, and therefore, frowning. Are you sure you can defeat me? Chu Xun sighed softly. After practicing to this level, he is usually cautious and cautious. Why is he so relaxed today? Is he sure of the decline of Donglin Sect? The woman in Taoist robe, the sharp young man, the tepid old man, the immature boy, the 4 people were suddenly filled with strong uneasiness and vigilance. The woman in Taoist robe snorted coldly, playing tricks. Today, no one can save you. Bang! A big hand pressed down. It seemed ordinary. In fact, it was a master of the world, great supernatural power. It was a sure kill skill. This also made Chu Xun feel a little relieved. If these people had used the method of pinching ants to kill him, he would not have survived until now. However, they missed a point. Alas, a faint sigh resounded through the sky, time, space, nothingness. Everything was frozen, only to see an old man who was about to decay, slowly walked out from behind Chu Xun, sighing softly, his turbid eyes full of emotion, sighing softly. Why bother? That when he raised his head, his appearance was reflected in the eyes of the 4 semi-saints, all of whom had their pupils contracted, horrified in their hearts, revealing strong fear, staring at the wrinkled cheeks, and said in horror, Xia Yang. Xia Yang, the Saint of Donglin Sect. In just a moment, they were scared to death. The whole person was numb with horror. Saint of Donglin Sect. Who would have thought, the Saint of Donglin Sect would come in person at this time? In everyone's cognition, the Saints of Donglin Sect are all about to die and fall into a deep sleep. Even reviving and waking up once is extremely difficult, and the remaining time is even more precious to save Donglin Sect and give Chu Xun and Xiao Ronyu a chance to grow and breathe. Who would have thought that they would come here? It was probably the Saint of Xiandao Sect. The Saint of Zhenwu Sect never thought that a saint would come, otherwise they would not have sent a semi-saint to kill Chu Xun. Boom! The moment the Saint Xia Yang raised his head, the big palm that was killing Chu Xun collapsed and disintegrated by itself, as if a mysterious order and energy had broken down the palm print, leaving only a few traces of Taoism, which were scattered between heaven and earth. The gap is too big. Chu Xun's heart trembled. He had witnessed the saint's attack before, but this time he was right next to the saint and witnessed his attack. He deeply understood the gap between the 2, semi-saint, saint, 1-word difference. A world of difference. Semi-saints have not shed their mortal bodies after all. Even if the human emperor reaches the limit, they can still fight back and kill, but when it comes to saints, it is far beyond the human emperor's ability to compete. Not to mention killing, even challenging is impossible. The gap in this realm has formed a qualitative change, which cannot be crossed by relying on ordinary treasures. Boom! There was endless fear in the eyes of the woman in the robe. She could clearly see the age spots on the old man's arm, which were a symbol of his near future, but this hand reached out to her and turned into the hand of death. No. Spare your life. Senior, I was wrong. I'm willing to apologize. Bang! Xia Yang just held the woman and squeezed it gently. The lofty semi-saint in the eyes of others died. He heard Xia Yang whisper softly, if apologizing is useful, why should I practice? Slow old man, a sharp young man, a childlike boy, the three of them expressed strong shock at the same time. Regardless of the woman's death, they broke away from the saint's pressure almost instantly, turned into a bolt of lightning, and fled crazily. Boom! And an indescribable vast power filled Xia Yang's body, imprisoning the void, and all he saw was that his eyes became increasingly deep and cold, with a ruthless gaze, and he said coldly, I've already come, do you want to leave? Isn't it too late? Boom! Boom! Raise your hand, kill one after another, slow old man, a sharp young man, he didn't even escape 10 miles away before turning into a ball of blood mist. When he approached the childlike young man, the latter knelt down with a plop and said in horror, Senior, please spare my life. I am willing to surrender. I am willing to become Donglin. A dog of the sect, I have tried my best to protect the Donglin Sect, please let me live. I can't trust you. Xia Yang shook his head. In the face of a life and death crisis, he couldn't be trustworthy. Besides, once he died, he was destined to rebel. No, the childlike young man showed ferocity on his face and roared ferociously, so what if you are a saint? You are just a decayed, twilight saint who is about to die. And I have practiced hard all my life and become a semi-sage. I may not be able to compete with you. The method of cultivating the devil, demonic energy suddenly appeared in the eyes of the young boy, and his cultivation level continued to soar. He went directly from the semi-saint to the top of the semi-saint, and within one breath he was close to Chu Xun's cultivation level that killed the demon saint in Zhang's family. Xia Yang shook his head slightly and slapped him down. Boom! A ball of blood foam exploded, childlike boy, die. Fancy. Xia Yang snorted disdainfully. In front of the saint, he still wanted to use magic power to forcefully break through a realm. Was he looking down on the saint's realm, or was he looking down on him? Chapter 77 Killing Like Crazy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chu Xun was also speechless. He once again felt the power of the saint. The childlike young man exploded at the last moment and was almost on the verge of becoming a saint. However, he still had no power to fight back in Xia Yang's hands. He was destroyed with a snap of his fingers, but one thing is clearly understood. The demonic cult in the eastern region probably has more than 3 or 2 days of savings, even the half-saints of the immortal Dao sect have methods of cultivating the demon cult, and there is no guarantee that others don't. Looking at it for so long. Isn't it time to show up? While Chu Xun was deep in thought, Xia Yang slowly looked to the void on one side, where a man in white walked out slightly awkwardly, saluted respectfully, half-saint of Xianxia sect, I have met Senior Xia. Be the first to identify yourself, Xianxia sect, don't get hurt by mistake. Oh. Xianxia sect, Xia Yang pretended to be in a daze and said. Yes, I have no other evil thoughts this time. I just happened to pass by. I am passing by. I will leave now. The man in white said awkwardly. Boom! Raise your hand and wave. Bang! Directly into a ball of blood mist, then he saw Xia Yang mockingly, is any of the people who are still here at this time innocent? Swish swish swish. In an instant, in the void, there was restlessness again. Besides, Chu Xun was also confused. On the way here, he had thought that some semi-saints would take action, and in his opinion, the 4 saints already thought highly of him. Who knew there were so many lurking in the dark? I'm afraid it wasn't just a sect. But in many places. Boom! 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 Xia Yang's pupils were sharp. At that moment it was like a sleeping dragon coming to life, or like ancient gods and Buddhas waking up. Following the attack, there were bursts of screams and begging for mercy. In the end, they all fell silent. In a short moment, one after another kill many people, no matter what bullshit Holy Land sect he is, kill them all. After counting the interest, Xia Yang returns. His face was as calm as ever, as if he hadn't done anything, but his light tone also said that he was crazy today. He didn't take it seriously and said, "Is it true that cats and dogs dare to covet my Donglin sect? I really don't think I can recover. No one can cure you." At the same time, a corner of the seaside, demonic cult, scared to the point of peeing. I was so scared. They had seen an ordinary old man in green clothes appear earlier, and thought they were prey. When they were excited to snatch the prey, they suddenly saw several figures that looked like saints, either sitting cross-legged or with their eyes closed. The aura exuded far surpassed that of the human emperor, making them tremble with fear, thinking that the saint was coming, who thinks, in a blink of an eye. Those powerful men who stood tall and looked like saints died with a snap of their fingers and were killed by another old man who looked older. Not only that, there were many terrifying figures lurking in the void, but they were all killed one after another. Even so, the faces of these demon sect members were filled with confusion and unprecedented horror. Is this the headquarters of the eastern region or the headquarters of another demon sect? These cultivators from the eastern region are so terrifying, especially the older they get, the more terrifying they are. A demon said in horror. This is really an old man who appears to be more powerful than the other, immortal sect, the natal word pavilion. Boom! Unexpected, a natal word card was broken, and the elder who was sitting there trembled for no reason. In recent days, since he offended Donglin Sect, the natal word card has been broken continuously. Every time it is broken, it is the beginning of the human emperor. This makes him look at it with trembling heart and murmur. Said, "Which unlucky human emperor has fallen again?" But when he saw the broken position of the natal word card, he was stunned. After a moment of silence, a cold air rushed to the back of his head, and he trembled. Half saint, half saint, half saint's word card is broken. Boom! The saint who was practicing in the back mountain of Xianxia sect suddenly opened his eyes, his pupils burst out with sharp beams of light, and his figure flashed to the CI card room. Looking at the broken CI cards, it was silent, but Qin Yu beside him was not breathless. Dare to breathe, feeling the ultimate pressure under the saint's silence, saint, angry. Chu Xun, the killing intent of the saints of the immortal Dao sect has never been so intense. It's not just him. Jin Wuzong, the burly saint, also had strong murderous intent in his eyes. He knew about the immortal sect saint's Dharma paper, but he didn't expect Chu Xun to dare to go to the corner of Binhai. What shocked him even more was Chu Xun's combat power. How long has it been? It's time to kill the half-saint. If only he was given some more time to practice. Will it really destroy the saint? Even though no one has ever been able to make the leap to becoming a human emperor and becoming a saint in such a short period of time, he still felt the threat of Qiguoguo from this junior. At the same time, Xianxia sect, when he learned that one of his half-saints had died, the old man holding the heavenly secret disc twitched at the corners of his mouth, and said distressedly, "What kind of debt have I committed?" There is a conflict between the three sects, and they have nothing to do to join in the fun. Now it's good. Oh, one person died in vain. As for revenge, never thought about it, because he has already guessed who did it. If Benhagio has the ability to kill the half-saints of Xianxia sect, he must first deal with the semi-saints of Xiandao sect and Jinwu sect. At that point, it is no longer something that a junior can solve. Thinking of it, not long ago, news came out that the Saint of Donglin Sect had awakened, and it was obvious who would take action. Xianxia sect, Goddess Palace. In these two cases, the teeth were broken and swallowed, even if it means revenge. It was also after confirming that Donglin Sect could not cause any trouble. A corner of the coast, these troubles were solved. Xia Yang also said gently, "I don't have much time." Chu Xun was silent. He knew that Xia Yang had been in a sleeping state for several months, and this time the revival was about to run out. Especially with this action, I am afraid that there is not much left, and he will die at any time. Take advantage of the last time to emit a little warm-up. If you have any questions about cultivation, you can ask me. Time is short, pick some elements. Xia Yang also said slowly, but when his eyes looked at the distant sky, he seemed to sense something, and his voice was very slow and solemn. Chapter 80, The Ultimate Sublimation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ahem, that the breaking of the giant sword was not enough to hurt Xia Yang. What really hurt him was the cracks in the formation diagram. He smashed the giant sword with one punch. The Saint of Donglin Sect, with the image of Zhenwu, stepped on it with one step, as if he had really invited a god. A foot that covered the sky and the sun stepped down from the sky and landed heavily on the formation. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. I don't know how many runes exploded at this moment. Crack. Crack. In addition, Xia Yang's mouth was bleeding. The few strands of black hair that had just been barely restored due to the breakthrough instantly turned into withered white, his eyes dimmed directly, and the wrinkles and oldness on his face also increased significantly. You are too weak, that the Saint of Donglin Sect said. Bang, that at the same time, the Saint of Xianxia Sect also chopped the giant sword. For a moment, the two saints stood in the air, release unparalleled light. One person was covered by the sun, one person had a Dharma image on his back. The two looked down at the Saint of Donglin Sect indifferently. A saint who was about to die might be a trouble and threat to anyone, but when two people joined forces, it was not a trouble, and they were the two strongest saints in the eastern region. Sit down and die. Give you a decent face, that the Saint of Xianxia Sect said indifferently. Heh, Xia Yang coughed lightly, and the corners of his mouth were stained with blood. He looked at the two people mockingly, and slowly moved to Chu Xun. He originally wanted to entrust Donglin Sect to Chu Xun, knowing that he would die after this battle, but he couldn't bear to say it when the words came to his lips. This was too much pressure for him. Facing two sects alone, especially with two saints, he sighed complicatedly. After this battle, you will leave the eastern region. Chu Xun shook his head. If he left, Donglin Sect would be finished. Xia Yang's wrinkled face showed a smile, which was filled with relief, comfort, and appreciation. He knew that he had not made a mistake. His cloudy eyes suddenly burst into an incomparable brilliance. He smiled and patted Chu Xun on the shoulder, saying, since you don't leave, it's better. The outside is not necessarily stronger than the Donglin Sect. This battle will make them pay the price anyway. Give you a chance to breathe. That the old air on Xia Yang's body dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. The old man's spots on his body disappeared, and his dry skin became full again. A stronger breath rose from his body. Boom, that the palm of the immortal Dao Sect saint was filled with terrible pressure. Too late. It can't be stopped, that the Donglin Sect saint also said solemnly, burning blood essence, sublimation to the extreme. This is a mortal move. In this state, others cannot break it, unless Xia Yang can be killed in the first place, not giving him the opportunity to burn blood essence, and obviously, neither he nor the immortal Dao Sect saint has this strength. The face of the Saint of Xianxia Sect also flashed with loss and fear. He was worried about the revival of Xia Yang of Donglin Sect. He tried again and again, but he didn't expect that he would revive in the end. Fortunately, he was not the only one who took responsibility, but also the Saint of Donglin Sect. Boom, that the white hair faded, and the new long hair was black and full of luster, scattered on the chest and back. The knife-like cheeks were handsome and young, and the pupils were bright and full of expression. The black metal armor covered his whole body, leaving only the handsome face. A black heavy sword fell in his palm. At this time, he regained his peak in youth. Senior, Chu Xun was moved. He knew this kind of revival. There is no doubt that he will die. Watch it. Xia Yang smiled, and as he turned around, he straightened his back. The person with his back to him seemed to be holding up the whole sky and bringing him a piece of pure land. Kill, holding the dark heavy sword, Xia Yang, young and domineering, slashed down with one sword, slashing at the two saints. Even though he was fighting one against two, there was no fear or hesitation in his eyes. The saint is dying. Chu Xun stood there, looking at the old man who was extremely sublimated. He was obviously very young and vigorous at this moment, and he had returned to his peak years, but he still felt a stronger sense of old age and decay from the old man, which could not be dispelled or wiped out. Boom! At this time, he was stronger than ever. When the black sword energy crescent slashed down, it seemed that the sky and the abyss could be torn apart, and a brilliant sword intent burst out. Humph! The leader of Xiandao sect snorted coldly, and the golden spear in his hand also emitted endless sharpness. His eyes were sharp and he said coldly, "This old guy's state of sublimation will not last long. You and I just need to hold him back." The Saint of Donglin sect nodded. He also thought so. There was no point in fighting with an old thing that was about to revive. As long as he could hold him back, the final victory would still be theirs. Boom! They thought so. Xia Yang had expected it long ago. He didn't give them this chance at all. He raised the sword with one hand, he chopped and chopped. The ink-colored sword energy illuminated the east region, Xianwang Palace, Fuyue sect. These sects that were slightly closer to Banquet had emperor-level masters who looked up in horror and looked at the distant sky, saying in shock, "There are saints fighting." Afterwards, the ordinary practitioners in the sect also noticed this scene. Looking up in the direction of Banquet, looking at the unparalleled sword energy in surprise, piercing through countless celestial bodies, like a sword that broke through the air for millions of miles. Donglin Sect, Xiao Rongyu, Wang He, Elder Jiang, Elder Wang who suppressed the forbidden area. These few people came out and stood silently on the highest mountain of Donglin Sect, silently. From the moment Xia Yang woke up from the forbidden area, they knew that there would be this battle, but it was not in Xiandao sect, nor in Xiandao sect. Instead, Zhen Wuzong started this destined to be tragic and meaningful battle at a corner of Binhai. Boom! Burning life essence and blood, the fully sublimated Xia Yang was very fierce, wearing black metal armor and a red cloak swaying in the wind, but the heavy sword in his hand seemed to be able to chop down the sun and moon from the sky. Kill! The saint of the immortal sect also forced out his anger in the repeated confrontations, and his pupils burst out with murderous intent, saying, "Old man, do you really think that you will be invincible after you have reached your highest level? I don't want to do anything to you because I want to give you dignity. I really think you invincible." The saints of the Donglin sect also had cold eyes. The two of them were the strongest saints in the eastern region. Especially when they joined forces, not to mention that Xia Yang was still in a twilight and decaying state. Even if he reached his peak, they would still be confident to kill him. Hee. Xia Yang sneered, but did not say much. He suddenly swung the heavy sword in his hand. This sword cut down a large rain of blood. The saint was bleeding and injured. War situation, instantly anxious. Tianji sect, goddess sect, Xinxing sect, but it was extremely quiet at this time.